Now,
Any questions? I just want somebody.
yeah, I just want somebody to do it for you. Yeah. It's like, I don't want to learn it. Yeah. Teach a man to fish and I forget that. All right. So we're going to get into my lecture and I'm not going to keep you long. I know all of us want to get started working on our courses and cloning, but not clicking the meeting time and getting ready. So I want to start this. I want this to be an interactive session, but it's going to be a session that is, I want it to be really helpful for all of us in here, and it's going to set up for something I'm going to mention at the very end of the session. But someone tell me, who was your favorite professor or teacher and why? Mrs. Buckner. Holly Beaver. Oh, yeah. Love her. Yes. Mrs. Beaverness was, and if anybody here ever have or know Holly Beaverness? Oh, you really? You asked too? Okay. I didn't. Are you from around here or? Did you really? Oh my goodness. Wow, what year? Well, never mind. Don't answer that. Never mind. Sorry. Don't tell me what year. Never mind. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Okay. All right. So if you had Mrs. Beavernetz, you know she was an incredible lady. Now, why you said why was what? She brought history to life. And I took her history classes too. I'm telling you, it was one of the few classes where I was just, you were at the edge of the seat because she could literally bring history to life. Who else in here? Who else has a favorite teacher and why? Come on, y'all can help me out. Dr. Williams.
Even though he had two earned doctorates, he taught history in such a way that it also came to life, and he taught more by not teaching. A 3-hour lecture with him felt like seeing stop because filling it all of practical application.
Okay, that's great. So for those who are watching online or didn't hear him, Dr. Hanna, John Hanna, and he said because not only did he bring history to life, but he lived it. He was an example to them. Anybody else? I mean, I can tell you mine. Probably the most influential professor in my life was a guy named Charles Schaefer. He was here years and years ago, and the reason why is because he loved me, and I knew he did. He spent time. I took summer classes not because I was bad. I just wanted to get ahead. And I was stuck here on campus, and he ate lunch with me every single day in the summer. Every day. We'd get together, and he'd bring me some food from home because, college food and home food, totally different. So I was eating ramen, and he was eating good food. So, and I always tell people this, and I don't mean this in a bad way. And gosh, this may sound terrible. He wasn't the best teacher, instructor-wise. But you know what? I listened to every word he said because he loved me. And it was one of those things where I'm not going to miss a class. I'm not going to miss, I'm going to pay attention because this man actually cares about me. Anybody else got somebody else in their life? So now let me put it on this one. Oh, you got one? Okay.
Dr. Frank Godwin.
Okay, Dr. Godwin.
University of Florida, marketing. And he's the only instructor I had that actually taught me anything about how to make a living.
So somebody who actually taught you practical stuff. Oh, okay.
But what he gave me was the only thing I left Florida with that enabled me to make a living.
That's awesome.
It's sad.
Yeah. Well, oh yeah.
But I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And today I still remember what he told
Yeah.
me.
That's great. So for online, he said a professor at University of Florida who actually gave him practical application in life so he could actually use it in real life scenarios. It wasn't just textbook stuff. So that's good. So now let me turn this way. Don't say names, okay? But does anybody have someone who sticks out in your mind as the least favorite? And if so, why would you say they were somebody you didn't particularly care going to their lectures? Anybody? Y'all, they're not here, by the way. Okay, so you can say, yeah.
My German teacher in undergrad. German has been my thorn in the flesh my entire academic career. I'm actually learning German right now on an online program because I'm determined.
Okay.
To not
you're gonna show him wrong, right?
No, but it was obvious that she did not want to be in the classroom. She was no personality whatsoever and didn't show any attempt to be personable. I just attributed that to being German, I guess, it was the worst grade I ever earned in elementary all the way through. And it was pretty sad. It was my junior year. And just no motivation to learn. And I was upset because it kept me from graduating from honors that one class. But so And that's not why, but it's just. drives me.
Yeah. So a professor who you knew they did not care to be there.
They didn't want to be there. That's very obvious.
That's a good one. Dr. Riley?
I had a professor, for Hebrew, so it must be languages.
Yeah, it must be language professor. Dr. I'm just kidding.
He knew Hebrew inside and out, but he couldn't communicate.
Ah,
People would ask
Couldn't
questions,
communicate
his
it.
answer had nothing to do with the question that the students had asked.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So failure to communicate. That's a good one. Matthew?
I had one who was sadistic.
Sadistic.
Enjoy the morning that they
Mm.
do something that you did not know.
Ah, yeah.
And would try and make, they literally, they felt better when they made you look worse.
Mm.
And it was interesting because this was, I knew this was in sixth grade. So this was, and I got a telephone call in my senior year of college from that professor or from that teacher who actually called it the college.
Wow.
So
That's good.
that what you said, I have time.
Mm. Man, that's incredible. But so a bad turned good. Professor who or teacher who was enjoyed bringing you misery and finally one day apologized for it. That's good. And was Dr. Tyler, did you have one?
Yes, another language, in this case English. So
Yeah.
this was a 200 level English course, world literature course at Ole Miss. And
That makes
rather than
sense.
teach you how to interpret the book, all you were supposed to do was just let her tell you what the book meant and then reproduce that.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah. So that's not a good teaching method, I guess. So anybody? And if you did you notice that when I said least, like that's when I get the most answers because we all remember. And again, we remember the ones that we like the most, but we definitely like talking about the ones that were terrors, right? And I had a very similar professor when I was working on my PhD. He was a Duke professor, and his name was Dr. Little. And I used to joke that he would have made Hitler look like Mother Teresa. Like he was the meanest professor I ever had. Dr. Williams, remember I told him he almost had me in tears sometimes the way that he would talk to us and the way that he would treat us, same way, because he was so smart. And how dare you not understand this? And yeah, he was a genius. Part of his contract at Duke was, guess what? He had to debate an atheist every year. He would debate Harvard atheists and Yale atheists, and he'd make them look stupid, which I thought was cool. But then it was me, a PhD student, being like, yeah, I'm stupid. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm trying to get you to teach me. Like, how can you not get that through your head? Of course, I don't know that. If I'd have known it, I wouldn't be in this class. But we remember those. We definitely remember those. So the reason why I asked you that is because many times the difference between a bad professor and a great professor is a professor we will remember in the negative was just there to check boxes. They were there to get a paycheck. They were there just to clock in, clock out, and get their job done and go home and not worry about it. The ones that changed lives were the ones we remember forever because we still remember them and we care about them. And they could have done a lot of bad things to us, but we would have forgiven them because they cared about us. What I want to talk about today is how all of us can move from checking boxes to changing lives. And the reason why I say all of us is because some days we all have checkbox days, don't we? It may not be your entire semester, but some mornings we're going to come on this campus and we're like, I just got to check my boxes so I can go home. It happens because a lot of stuff, we all have things going on in our lives sometimes that will pile on us, and that's just what we got to do. But the goal would be to have more days changing lives than checking boxes. So there's three main ways, and everyone said it in here. Every one of us in some way or the other said the three ways or three pillars of moving from checking boxes to changing lives. And the first pillar or the first thing is effective educators enhance their instruction. Effective educators enhance their instruction. Here's what that means. That means you're never content with just doing what you've always done. I had a professor years ago who his lecture notes were the exact same lecture notes he had from the 1970s. Used to be on white paper, it turned yellow over time. Nothing changed. Nothing. But guess what did change in those 40 years? People and how we're educated. Enhancing our instruction can come in a whole ton of different ways. There are free resources out there every summer, because if you know me, you know I like to say I'm frugal, but you might call me cheap. I'm cheap. Okay. So I don't want to pay for anything. Most lectures that you can find like online, they're on YouTube. I usually spend some in the summers. I started this a few years ago, just trying to go one video a week on YouTube, trying to improve my own lectures and how I can do things better. And I could learn a lot of great ideas, and then it's implementing them into my different classes, because those of us, people mentioned it, the ones that made the impact in their lives, that they loved what they were doing, they enjoyed their teaching, they made it fun, and you wanted to listen to them. So let me ask you, what are some things you have done to enhance your instruction? I gave y'all a couple illustrations. Did y'all see the faculty newsletter, the faculty staff newsletter they sent out in August 1st? There's a teaching tips on there. And this actually came up from Jacob, myself, and Liddell doing teacher observations. One thing that will help enhance your instruction is when you use PowerPoint, make sure your font's big enough for the person in the far back of the room can see it. That's a big one. If students can't see it, and they really do want to see what's on the screen. They probably want to see what's on the screen more than they want to listen to us. They want to see what's on the screen, but if they can't, guess what they do? Shut off. Or the other one was, don't have your entire lecture on the PowerPoint. If they can read what you're going to say, then why do they need to listen to you? Just have the bullet points. That's one thing. Review games. And I know you're thinking, what? These are adults. Really? Come on. Yeah, they changed age, but they didn't. There's really nothing that changed. Before every class, I'd learned this in a lecture video a couple summers ago. I have a little review game for them. I manipulate them into studying. They haven't picked up on it yet because they get prizes for answering the questions and everything. And they're still elementary in their mindset sometimes. So are we. We like prizes, right? We like getting gift cards and stuff like that. And I don't give gift cards. I don't have that kind of money. But, so we enjoy those things. That actually gets them involved in the education process. What are some things that y'all have done in your courses that have enhanced your instruction? Anybody got any ideas? Especially education major, Dr. Riley?
Flipped my teaching math class.
Oh, okay.
And they watch the video before they come to class.
And then they come and talk about it. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
And I do this Kahoot.
Yeah. Yeah.
With them to review what they
Mhm.
watched, know what I need to touch up on, and then we start working with.
That's great.
concepts.
That's great. So then they watch the video and then they come to class and it becomes practical application. That's good. And then of course the Kahoots, they love Kahoots. So that's good. Dr. Tadlock?
So I stole this from the textbook publisher for my signal government class. Well, what I would do is like, we're talking about the executive branch at the state level. Well, this happened to be the week that Gavin Newsom was being recalled. So I'm like, let's talk about, I'll pull something from the news and say, all right, this is how this works today in the news. And then we'll say, all right, how do we get to this point? Let's talk about how government works. And then one time I placed what I thought was a silly game they really enjoyed. I said, all right, imagine you founded a city. What are 5 public services you have to have? And then I said, oh no, budget cuts, eliminate 2. Because that's what we're talking about. It's how do cities manage budgets. And I had several of them say, like, that was really good. I'm like, I thought it was dumb, but they liked it. Because they never thought about, like, well, the city why did they cut this? Because they have to make a decision. Something very difficult decision.
That's really good. That's really, it's a practical application of what they're learning and real world application of, oh yeah, your budget got cut. Yeah, because that doesn't happen anywhere, right? We never have budget cuts. Yeah. So that's great. Anybody got any other ideas that you've implemented in your classes to make things your instruction even better? I know some of y'all gotta have something. Some of y'all like, nah. There he is. Teach through questions.
Read or watch the video, either YouTube or me, and then come with prepared questions.
Mm-hmm.
It always changes my teaching style.
Yeah.
Material. I usually cover what I intended to cover because I can slip it in
Mhm.
some way, but I feel like it gives the students control of their learning, and it's never just me going for a flow.
Yeah.
Their nuance of the questions.
So teaching through questions, and they know it's coming too, right?
They do, and
Yeah.
they're graded on the.
Graded on the, okay, graded on the response. That means they got to be prepared. Yeah, which engages the classroom lecture. Matt? Mhm.
Most marketers think sex sells.
Yeah,
Humor
that's good.
is, one that-
Yeah. That's good. Bringing humor into it. I like that. I like that. So now Matthew's talked about smoking and sex today. At one point, we gave that illustration earlier. You're like, so guess what? I'm like, we can smoke now. I'm like, what is going on? So, Dr. Lopez.
Yeah, so a couple classes, business classes, try to role play, so I'm like.
Role play. Mm-hmm.
Or strategic management, case study, you're a junior analyst, boss. Case study and something.
Yeah.
Then what I, I was able to do it as a small class, that could be Cracker Barrel, I just, for midterm review. I really enjoyed
That's
that.
good.
Obviously,
Yeah.
pretty cool, but, yeah, I got some thank you notes there.
I bet you did. Yeah. You feed these students, man. They'll love you forever. Yeah. So role playing in your courses, which is awesome. And then you even having your midterm over Cracker Barrel food. That's good. Dr. Williams?
When we get to the end of advanced theology, mock coordination.
Mock coordination.
So instead of having a bunch of deacons that don't know anything, they have to handle my questions.
Yeah.
So, and the amount of study and the fear that you see in their eyes, I can ask them anything about their entire time, from New Testament all the way to Greek
Yeah.
to pastoral classes, and say, when you get in ministry, you never know what you're going to experience. So,
That's good. So give them kind of like a comprehensive exam at the end, and they have to be prepared. That's great. All of those are excellent responses. Notice what was not mentioned in all of it is no one said, "Oh, I just lectured the whole time." Right? Now, obviously, we're going to lecture, right? But even with Jacob mentioning the question part, you can lecture and then ask a question and make sure they respond. And by the way, if you do ask a question to your students, give them time to think and respond. Don't just answer your own question, because they pick up that you answer your own questions. Guess what they'll do? They ain't gonna answer. They're just gonna sit there. Like, just give him a second. He'll get it. He'll say it to us. So all those are great. So that's the first. So the first pillar of going. Oh man. So my computer froze. This is a ministry computer. Wonderful. So the first pillar is enhancing your instruction. I'm gonna do this from the cuff until my computer wakes up. The second one is an effective educator builds relationships. Now here's what building relationships with your students does not mean. Does not mean you're the best friend. There still is a division that between professor and student that is there. But building a relationship, you know what that means? It means that you care for your students. And not just you care for them, they know that you care for them. Because you can't just say, well, I care for you. Look, we've all been in this in some way or another. Somebody said they cared for us. They never showed it. So we're like, yeah, you may say that, but you're not showing it. That is really difficult for all of us. So there are a lot of different ways to build a relationship with students. Sometimes building a relationship with a student, an easy one is, if you got an athlete, Tessie mentioned this, you got an athlete in your class, pick one of their games and go to it. Right? I mean, sure, I understand you can't make all of them. I get that. Like, volleyball is a little bit, except for this year, they got like 26 games, but like they used to have just a few games on, oh, I can't. I got the Zoom going, babe. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm just going to restart the program. So thank you very much for your help. So I know you may not be able to make it all the games, but pick one or two of them. Go to those games. And when you go, guess what you need to do? Say hey to them so they know you were there. Don't just go and then just leave. Like, actually go up to them. Great game. Glad to see you. Things like that. Another way is here, and this is kind of a way to build a relationship by not doing something. And that is, sorry, I'm trying so hard to get this back up and running. Love technology, right? So there's oh, look, there it is. Hey, it's working. All right. Another one is remove the phrase, it's in the syllabus from your vocabulary. Now, I am probably the most guilty one of that in this room. I'm so guilty of that. A student bought me a coffee mug that says that. But I have to be honest with you. I was watching a TED Talk, an educator, it's like Teddy or whatever, it's the educator one. And this professor was up there and she mentioned that the worst thing you can tell a student is something condescending, like it's in the syllabus. And I was like, I do that all the time. That can't be bad, right? And here's what she said. She mentioned, and she did it in a way that really made sense. How many courses are those students taking at one time? 5, sometimes 6. And we're expecting them, because we're only thinking about the one at the time. We're expecting them to remember everything in that document. If I asked all of you, we all just got sent a document from Paycor about the handbook. I remember that employee handbook. We're supposed to have read it and agreed. How many of you in here can tell me every single aspect of that book? Some of you probably didn't recognize some of the changes that were in there at all, and neither did I. I mean, I went through it and looked at it, but because I was looking for a couple key things that I was a part of, like, you know, helping change. I was like, oh, they did it. Right, this is great. But we don't remember everything that's in the employee handbook. It's a long document, but we expect our students to remember everything that's in our syllabus. So here's a way that she said to do it, and this is what I do now is you can still use the syllabus as their guidance, but here's what you do. When they ask you a question, you answer it and then say, and if you need any more information on it, the syllabus has some more details for you. So you're not just saying it's in the syllabus. Have you checked your syllabus? Go look at your syllabus. You're saying, oh, well, let me answer that for you. And then say, oh, by the way, there's more information in your syllabus. And then that still lets them realize, oh yeah, there is a document that I've got that has all this information, but you didn't do it in a jerk way. Okay. So, and again, I'm the most guilty. The reason why I'm even using that is because I was bought a mug that says that because I said it so often. That's not good. That's not good at all. So I've had to change that. And there's lots of other different ways. What are some ways that you have found that helps build relationship with your students that they know that you care about them?
I walked through the cafeteria on Tuesday nights.
Walk through the cafeteria and talk to them. Yeah. Yeah, give them a hard time, make fun of them. Yeah, that is another way to do it. Dr. Yeomans, were you going? Yeah. One-on-one conferences, yes. Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. I had a problem with a student last year, this time last year. Really frustrated me, really frustrating student. And I just decided to have a meeting with the student, and then they told me what all was going on in their life, and I was like, oh, okay. Now, it didn't excuse any of the issues, but it definitely made me realize, all right, I may not be so hard on this person because what they're going through, I've never had to go through, and I hope I never do. So building a relationship one-on-one, saying what's going on. Sometimes that's the best way, especially with troubled students. Sometimes they're just acting out because they need something, and it's not just you being rude back to them. So that's a really good one-on-one. Anybody got any other ideas that you've done? I mean, I'll use what you just did, taking them to Cracker Barrel. May not be able to do that in all your class, but you know, getting a group together. Mac has I don't know, pre-COVID, we used to do a lot more things, but students over to his house, a great way to a small group. Dr. Riley?
I offered my students a free coffee at Texas Plaza if they came to see me.
Free coffee to come to see you. Yeah, all right. Does that work for us too? Right.
What are my advice?
Oh man, all right. Ashley?
And I think also just being intentional of what you say to them.
Being intentional, yeah.
Special students, we all get that.
Yeah.
Just highlighting something positive and speaking mindset for them.
Yeah, that's really good.
And just highlighting, hey, what a great job you did on this case. That positive encouragement.
Yeah, that's good. You know, and somebody actually, somebody mentioned this to me, and I don't want to embarrass them, but they mentioned to me that one thing they do is every class after like the end of the day when the class is over, whatever, they go through who wasn't there on the roster and email them to see if they're okay. I'm like, oh, just say, hey, we missed you in class days. Everything all right? Can I pray for you about something? Because number one, most of them probably never got an email from any teacher actually wanting to know if they're okay. Usually it's just where were you? Why weren't you there? And number two, you might be able to find out real quick that there might be something going on in their life. And yeah, sure, they're going to skip, right? I mean, they're going to skip every now and then, but it is really nice just to get an email being like, "Are you okay? We really missed you today." And then also shows the professor paid attention and they knew you weren't there. So that's another really, really good one. So anybody got anything else? Ways that you've built relations, Dr. Dustman?
Before I started online classes, it's small and I started talking. I think it's something from me.
Oh, you give him a note in the actual mail. Oh, that's great. That's a really good one. Wow. That's really good. He's really good about that. Dr. Stanley. Anybody here ever got a letter from Dr. Stanley before? Yeah, a lot of us, right? And listen, I even told him, I don't even keep letters. This sounds terrible. I don't have anything for my kids. I know that sounds terrible. Please do not judge me. That stick figure means nothing to me. I'm not trying to be mean, but like he gave me a letter, I think it was last semester, and I was like, dang, I might actually keep this. It's like, wow. I mean, this is really nice because who does that anymore? Like, that's such a big thing. So that's a great way. Dr. Lopez, what do you have?
Yeah, I was gonna say, for advising, what I noticed is the students really enjoy is when you give them a roadmap on the second year, it's the classes that say, really have that from current state to status.
That's good.
This is how, we got a lot of good feedback about that. Obviously, it takes a little bit of time. But
Yeah. Yeah, you made a good point. It takes a lot of time. How many of you will admit being a good teacher is hard work? Right? It is hard work. And there is no easy way to it. It's not. Because if you're going to try to enhance your instruction, guess what? You're going to have to spend some time outside doing some research, doing things on your own to figure out how you can do that. If you're going to build relationships, relationships take time. And then here's the third one, the last one is, this keeps doing that. So there's the relationships, the second pillar, and the third one, the last one is embody the example. Dr. Williams said it earlier. He gave it Dr. Hanna from Dallas. He said the reason why it stuck out to him is because he was the example. He did what he said. That one right there, you and I may be great at the first two. This one could ruin everything. Right? You may struggle at the instruction one, but you got a good relationship with your students and you're a good example. Like Charles Shaver, I'll overlook that. I don't care. But man, this one, oh my goodness, this one's important. This one is so unbelievably important. And it's convicting to me too, because here's my example on this. Most of my examples I've given there is because I have a problem. So it's like, I call it anonymous, like, hi, my name's Adam, you know? So mine is this, my phone. You know what I'm convicted about? I'll go to chapel. You know what I do in chapel? I get on my phone. I'm on it almost the whole time. Now I'm doing work. I'm trying to answer emails, stuff like that. But what does that show the students? Well, Dr. Chris was on his phone during chapel. Why is he gonna be mad at me if I got a phone in class? I'm just being transparent. I got to stop that. That's something I need to work on. I know, Jacob, what's another one that you and I talked about? You know, I know you want to say it. Say it. Come on, you can do it. Faculty going to chapel. Yeah, right? Faculty going to chapel. And that's also, by the way, that's another way you can build relationships with your students. We don't have to just sit in the back like we're the Gestapo overseeing them and making sure they're doing. We can go sit with them. Yeah, we can go with them, sit next to them. And by the way, they'll probably pay attention better too. It's like, oh, there's an adult. Like, okay. So we can actually get all of these implemented by just spending some time with them. And another way too, and I forgot this, is invite them to church. Invite them to sit with you in church. You know, we're thinking, well, what if I don't go to Trinity? Dr. Williams, a member of Westside, invite them to Westside. You do, listen, I hope you realize we are more concerned that they go to church than they go to Trinity. Like if they go to First Baptist with Jacob, or they go to Westside with Dr. Williams or Dr. Carver, Hibernia, I think it is, they go to Hibernia. So be it. Who cares? They're in church. That's wonderful. And then they will be able to have a bond and relationship with a professor over the worship of God. That's being a great example. Absolute great example. Now, I know we're running out of time, but that is the three pillars. If you and I want to move from just checking boxes every day in our job to changing lives, we are going to have to do these three. We're going to have to improve our instruction. We're going to have to find ways to get better at teaching. We're going to have to build a relationship with our students because, by the way, they won't listen to you if they don't care about you. And the third one is we've got to be the example to them and make sure we are practicing what we teach. Because if not, then what are we doing? Because we are Trinity Baptist College. We are a Christian college. We have a different mission than any other college here in Jacksonville. So we need to be a different breed of professors. We need to set the example, build relationships, and enhance our instruction. So with all that being said, interestingly, faculty handbook. You may have read that before. So we just redid the faculty handbook, and there's a couple pieces we're still missing that will be added later. Jacob with Dr. Stanley spent about 6 months last year working on it, and then it got handed off to me. And then Jacob and I over the summer, he was gracious enough to come in over the summer for a couple hours, sit down with me and go through everything that they had worked on. And it's been adapted and updated. It's online on Populi. So when you get a chance, go look at it and you'll see some of you may not even know there's changes because again, it's in the syllabus. We don't read it, right? So it's there. You may not realize it, but for those of you who had an impact on some of the changes, you're going to be like, oh yes, it got changed. One thing that's on there that I never had done, I think Jacob and we realized we never had done, it's in our faculty handbook. We're supposed to have yearly reviews, performance reviews. I've been here 12 years. I've never had one. So we're going to, for full-time faculty, and again, adjuncts are going to have it. We're going to do it a little bit differently. And this is something I've got to roll out slowly, starting with the full-time faculty. Once a year, we're going to get together for a review based off of your evaluations, based off of teacher observations. But more than anything, it's going to be off of these three things. And it's not going to be me trying to tell you what you're doing wrong. It's going to be a meeting where we sit together and be like, okay, what can we do? What can you do next year to enhance your instruction? And you give me some ideas. And then we can follow up on the implementation. What are some things you can do that, or you've been doing, or you could do to build a relationship with your students? And then we follow up on the ideas. And then the example one, that's only going time it be an issue where it's like, okay, you did something dumb. We need to talk about it. Please don't put me in that situation. I'm begging of you. I don't want to do that part. Okay. But this is what the basis is going to be off of. And we're going to try to start that in May. So for one whole year, it's in our faculty handbook. I guess we should probably do it. Yeah. But not going to be anything where anybody has anything to worry about. Like, oh my goodness. No, it's going to be more of let's talk about what you're doing great. How can you make it better? Because I'm a firm believer that any of the bad can be corrected by focusing on the good. So I don't think I have to focus on the bad because we're going to focus on the good and make that better. And then the bad's going to eventually go away because you're only focused on the good. So that is our plan. And I apologize. I am 2 minutes over. I am cognizant of your time and for lunch and everything. So let me pray for y'all real quick. And then the rest of the day, if you're a new faculty, I'm just going to meet with Bill and Ashley real quick to talk about the faculty orientation. Just 5 minutes, explain that, and then that's it. You won't have to be here for the rest of the day. You can do it. You can do it anywhere. So I'll explain that to you. And then everyone else, you have the rest of the afternoon for professional development, anything that you need to do for your classes or your office or whatever. Meet back in here tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Converge is bringing us breakfast. So adjuncts are welcome as well if you just want to get a free breakfast. But so it's a free breakfast provided.
JJ Alderman is going to be.
Oh, JJ is going to bring it. Okay, so JJ Alderman, he's going to be a part of it. Awesome. So they're bringing that. That'll be tomorrow at 8:30, and then we'll have different things throughout the day. But I really appreciate y'all coming, and I am excited about this year. A couple of people asked me, this morning, what do you need from me? I need 3 things from you. And I'm not kidding on these 3. I need, and again, because I'm a preacher, they're going to be alliterated. You're welcome. I need your prayers big time because I do feel like I got thrown into the deep end of the pool and it's like, all right, here we go. It's sink or swim. And not in a bad way against anyone here. It's just, there's a lot to this job. And no manual that tells me what to do. So the second thing is, prayer, I need your patience. Please be patient with me. I am going to mess up. I promise you I am. Please just be patient with me while I learn this job. And I will be patient with you. So I just need your prayer, your patience. And the third one, and probably one of the biggest ones, I really need your partnership. I am a big team person. I don't want to do anything alone. And I don't think our college will benefit if I'm doing everything alone. I want your help. I need your guidance. Mrs. Buckner, you're with counseling. Dr. Buckner, counseling and criminal justice. I shouldn't make their decisions. Now, could I? Yeah, that's dumb. They're the experts. So I need you to partner with me to help me know how to make your program better. That's what I need. I'm not going to be the one who's just going to be dictating edicts straight down to you. I want them to come up to me and say, okay, well, how do we do it? Let's figure this out, because I am a huge team player. And again, most of that's become, many of you know this, I own a company on the side, and it is I learned from the owner who owned it for 40 years, what it really means to be a team leader, and how it's like former military people understand this. The guys that are doing the work, they know what needs to be done. The ones that have the stuff on their shoulders, sometimes they forget what actually happens in the trenches. So you got to be a team leader. So I really need your partnership with me. And if I promise you, we'll make this college exactly what God wants it to be if we can all work together on that. All right, let's pray. Father, we love you and thank you so much for today. Thank you for the opportunity we had to be able to come together. And Lord, just thank you for the blessings that we have heard from the different department heads. And Lord, I just pray right now, especially God, we beg you to work in a way that only you can in this new building project, to be able to have the different pieces put in place on your timing. And God, we just pray that you would allow us to be able to get in there and the students to come that you want to be here, and help all of us, God, in this room to truly actually benefit from these people that are coming to us, so that we can instruct them, build relationships with them, and be an example to them. And Lord, we love you, and we thank you so much for loving us. Thank you for the opportunity we have to be able to work here and work at a place where we can freely worship you and be able to tell other people about you every single day of our lives. First in Christ's name I pray. Amen.